time, what a time. What a time for a black man to be alive. Living in the struggle while trying to keep our composure. Killing each other while trying to look for that exposure. We all just wanna make it, we should do it as a team. Build each other up and they can't even say a thing. Me and all my brothers just stuck together like glue. It's us against the world and you know what we finna do. Woo! Pop a bottle, we in here for celebration. We just wanna be the leaders that's pushing the generation. Take a seat and find your zone for the topic of conversation. Find a way for a positive revelation. Now this really ain't the time to be thinking about yourself, cause we just a bunch of hustlers that's trying to give out some help. We turn the cubs into lions inside of the den. Come and join the brotherhood if you really just wanna win. Hey.
This your boy Daniel Lyons Evans, and you're alive inside the den. And episode 3 starts right now. As always, this is a live, unrehearsed, unscripted show. And to my left, I have a real good friend of mine. Y'all may have seen him before on the first season. I think it was back in August when y'all came on the show. You and Average Joe. Average Joe couldn't be here today. He's being an average Joe. He couldn't be on the show. So we got Mr. Ryan here, and shoot, man, the last time you were on the show, man, I know we was talking about doing that veterans run.
Yeah.
And I do apologize I wasn't able to make it because I think that was like either the day before or after my birthday.
Yeah.
It was August, what day? August the
28th.
28th?
Yeah.
My birthday was on the 22nd.
Yeah.
And I really, in my mind, wanted to be there. Then I said, man, my birthday tomorrow, you know what I mean?
Well, they got a whole schedule, so.
So when's the next one?
Well, I mean, I think there's one in Key West, Florida, in December 11th. But they have a whole calendar next year. So there's.
So that might not be a
black man to be alive.
It never fails. Every time I go live, I get a bunch of calls. So it's all good though. Just let you know. Yeah, something like that. A phone, etc. Phone slash tablet slash handheld computer. Once it looks weird, you know.
Big screen.
It looks weird looking at it, but once you start using it, you really can't stop.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have you said they have a schedule.
Yeah, so they on their website, it's Irreverent Warriors. They got, they're worldwide now because they have one in Puerto Rico in February, and then they had one in the UK this year. So they'll probably do that again next year. But bringing one of their biggest sponsors is Vet TV with Donnie O'Malley, and so they work together with them, bringing veterans together through humor and camaraderie is their mission. And they just do hikes. It takes a lot of work. They have coordinators. They have national, regional, and local coordinators that work really hard to get agreements with restaurants, volunteers, contributors, fundraisers and stuff like that. And veterans, if they want to go on a hike, they pay $5. And if they can't afford it, they check the box that says do it for free. And that's pretty much it, yeah.
Well, how many are you going to go on in a year's time?
Well, August was our first one, so I went on 2 this year. The plan was to go on 4, but you know what they say about a plan. So
yeah, everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? Until the plan hits them in the mouth. So maybe I just take baby steps and just commit to just doing at least one.
Yeah, so if they do it again next year, the one that we did, so we did Raleigh and Pinehurst. I really like Pinehurst, so if I was only allowed to choose one local, I would probably do the Pinehurst one.
Is the miles the same, like on each one of them, or is it different?
I mean, it's not really like a set distance. In Raleigh, it was pretty hot that day. I think we hit about 8 miles before, but it's not like a hike. It's not a ruck march.
A walk.
It's a casual stroll with a bunch of your friends and a ton of people with drones and GoPros, and there's volunteers handing out Gatorades and waters, like the volunteer, and then the coordinators are, there's one always up front so everybody knows where they're going, and then people have flags. They call them Silky's hikes, so we hike in the PT shorts.
You have to buy some, right?
I mean, I still have mine from the Army, but
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Joe had to buy some, but they weren't working out too well, so, I mean, I guess I don't think, how do they say it? They say, it's the uniform, Silky's is the uniform, but it's not required, or something like that. So if you showed up in, hiking pants, then nobody's gonna say anything to you.
Yeah, I would have to really consider that one.
The number one thing is to participate in a hike, you have to be a veteran.
Yeah.
The only thing anybody that is not a veteran can do in conjunction with the hike is volunteer, and then you're either signing people in,
And
or,
waters.
or riding in the. It's like they hand out the waters and Gatorades from like a chase vehicle, so they go to the next point and hand them out, and then they pack up and go to the next one.
Well, like I say, it sounded like fun in August, but I was like, my birthday. I'm like, So I definitely want to commit to at least one next year, and then we'll go from there to see, if I can get out to some more. But I'll try to stay a little bit more connected to all the different events that they got coming up this time. But it just really sounded like a whole lot of fun. And probably if I was, from this area and grew up here, it would go a whole lot more fun. But
I think you'll like it.
You and average Joe, and I don't really have a whole lot of veteran friends in the area, to even know, who all is part of the thing. But this is to each his own.
Well, once you show up there, I got a text on Thanksgiving from one of the guys that's local, so you'll meet a ton of guys, and I'm sure some of them will want to be on your show.
Right, I know it'll be a great networking tool. I'm actually going to be, doing a lot more, talked about this last week, doing a lot more partnerships, 2022, and just, getting outside the box and just going to meet people that I wouldn't normally be able to meet, behind the desk. I want to get out in the field and just start just, rubbing shoulders with different people and different walks of life. So I'm excited about, just networking with other entrepreneurs and other like-minded veterans and things like that, because I believe that is really what we all here for, just to kind of help each other move along, man, and get along, because we got a lot of stuff going on right now that you have to have some type of camaraderie, to figure out, where we going in this life. Talking about current events earlier. I talked about it last week and the week before last, so it's probably my third time talking about it, so I don't want to ride a dead horse, but I have to know, coming from you, what are your thoughts on the Kali Rosenbarger, the Kali Rittenhouse situation, the young man who crossed state lines with the assault rifle and didn't get charged. Everybody knows how the African American community feel about it, but coming from your background, what are your thoughts on how you feel about that situation?
So, I think one of my thoughts is I really don't care for how, in general, the mainstream media chooses what stories get 24/7 national coverage and which ones don't. Because at the end of the day, there have been, and unfortunately may always will be, some sort of event similar to that one taking place, where all different kinds of people are affected, but there is this box, and if the story doesn't fit in that box for them, it's almost like they don't pay any attention to it. So I guess, of course, being someone that consumes that kind of content on a regular basis, I always want them to cover it. I want someone to cover it because I want to know where I can get to listen to it or watch it or whatever. I'll give you an example on George Floyd, and I think most people call it the George Floyd trial, but it wasn't George Floyd's trial, obviously. But on that police officer's trial, it was on YouTube. And sometimes each session, which I want to say that lasted for somewhere around a total of 8 days, might have been 7, but I would pull it up after it was done because I really don't like, I can't schedule my time around watching something like that live, especially when they're 8 hours long.
Yeah.
And plus, when they take breaks, they put a screen up, so I want to be able to skip those. So on YouTube, you can change the play setting to 2 times the speed.
Yeah.
So I put those up on my computer screen while I was working, and I set them to 2 times the speed, and I watched I saw the entire trial. Like the defense, the prosecution, all the witnesses, everybody's legal and professional opinion inside and out. Just because, besides the fact that I want to know about it, if I become involved in a conversation, then I want to be able to talk about it. So as far as Kyle Rittenhouse, I haven't had the chance to do that, but I also don't know if that content exists. So I pretty much just know what has come through on the podcast and the news sites that I listen to.
They had it on Court TV. They was covering the Kyle Rittenhouse story. At the same time, they was covering the Ahmaud Arbery trial at the same time.
Yeah.
And they was going back and forth and for like a good part of like 2-3 days, man. It's just all. At some point, you just want to, like I say, fast forward to the end to see what the outcome is, because all the stuff in between, man, is all the deliberation and all that kind of stuff, the testimonies and all that, and it's like, you know, but it's a very interesting, you know, point of view that after all the evidence that the judge still, you know, found him not guilty and said it was self-defense, and you know, it's everybody has their own opinion about it, but you know what I said on the show last week, that sometimes it takes a certain people to be affected by a situation before they actually start doing something about it to change things.
Oh.
And so I'm looking for them to start making some changes in the gun laws, you know what I'm saying, now because of this situation, because it's going to come to a point where you're not going to be able to defend yourself because people just walking around killing folks unarmed, or you know what I'm saying, and there's no kind of justification.
Well, so I'm not sure if I understand you correctly, but I think I was stationed at Fort Hood with a guy who is in law enforcement now.
And you were the MP, right?
Yeah, and he is always posting quotes and stuff like that on his Facebook, and I read them, and I'm like, oh, it's really you know, I'm kind of curious. But then one time, because he'll post a picture of his cigar and his whiskey glass, and then one time I saw a book beside it. So he's reading a book, smoking a cigar, and drinking whiskey when he posts it. So that's where he's getting these quotes and stuff from. But him and a select few of my other friends like to say the phrase taxation is theft. I am of the belief that, of course, because when it comes to certainties in life, death and taxes are the two. You know, you're always going to have to pay taxes, and everybody dies eventually. But so when I say taxation is theft, it is not all taxes. It's just when you own a business and you have to pay, you know, state and local taxes. You have to pay payroll tax. Your employee then has to pay income tax on the same dollar.
Same money.
So you pay the tax to give it to them, and they have to pay the tax to receive it.
Oh, my
And then when they turn around and go to the store and they buy their beer or their phone or whatever, now they have to pay tax. That exact same dollar that has already been taxed twice is getting taxed again. So at the end of the day, I believe some taxes are necessary, but I'm very much a small government person. In saying that, and one of the reasons why I premise that with the whole tax thing is that I agree with the guy I was talking about in that all gun laws are unconstitutional, primarily because of the Second Amendment. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like they're saying with the whole ordeal in Waukesha, the mainstream media is talking about an SUV, but SUVs, not yet anyways, do not drive themselves. So SUVs and guns are not the culprits, the people are the culprits.
Yeah.
So, you know, coming from a military background, having been in the Army when the 2009 shooting took place down at Fort Hood, and knowing the DACP responsible for taking him down, and being called out of the field in 2014 when another shooting took place on post, on an installation where legally, from a federal standpoint, you, at the time, could not carry. It's a lot different, like out here, man, you can go buy a gun and carry. When you get to that installation checkpoint, you're not allowed to take it on post. If you do, it has to be separate from the magazine, you can't conceal carry, stuff like that. And that would have saved a ton of lives.
Yeah.
Because the gun that was used, more specifically in 2014, but especially in 2009 on Fort Hood, both of those were illegal firearms. They were either obtained outside of the regulation from the arms room. I'm not sure about the 2009, but the 2014 one, it was a privately owned weapon. It's not that hard. He snuck on post with it. Wasn't supposed to have it, wasn't supposed to have it on his person. He asked, he had a request of his command, they turned him down, and he just pulled it out and went nuts, went crazy. So it's like if one person, because if you looked at a map, like I could draw you a line of where that dude went just through building shooting. If one person in the middle of that whole thing, because then at the end, my friend cornered him, Sergeant Singer, she cornered him at the dumpsters outside the building, and he shot himself in the face. Granted, that is not the end that any of us wanted for that person. We wanted him to face prosecution so he could get, we could see the justice take place. Her pulling a gun and drawing down on him is what stopped it. So imagine if outside of law enforcement, someone carrying, who was allowed to carry, had done the same thing, we may have saved 50% of those lives. So from a firearms standpoint, I believe the bad guys are going to do bad things no matter what. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Well, and that's a very valid point. And you know, there's always been a saying that guns don't kill people, people with guns kill people, and that's a true statement. I just still trying to wrap my mind around this kid being 17 years old and somebody giving him that gun and him being able to walk the streets without being questioned, you know what I'm saying? Or because if you was in question, then let me see some ID or something like that. The same energy that a young black man will be questioned for having a hoodie on, where you going, where you at, can I see your ID? If that same energy or that same line of questioning would have been done to Rittenhand, then would he be able to continue walking the streets?
So he was interviewed, you know that, right?
He was interviewed by...
Yeah, he was questioned. What are you doing here? Who are you? Where did you come from? What is your purpose?
But did he get his ID? Did he have to show ID and stuff like that?
Well, let's say he was. How does that change what took place?
Well, I mean, I feel like if he was actually, caught up and knowing that he is underage for one.
Underage for what?
I mean, 17-year golden streaks with an assault rifle.
It wasn't illegal.
The gun wasn't illegal.
Mhm.
He did. It wasn't his gun though.
Yeah,
It wasn't his gun.
yeah.
His family, somebody gave their gun to him, like across. He didn't travel across. Did he travel across state lines with that gun, or did he
The
cross?
legality of the gun, the questions of whether or not the gun was legal was number one, the state lines, and it did not cross state lines. And number two, the barrel length or the overall length of the weapon, and the prosecution didn't measure it before they went in, so when they presented it, the charge got dropped, because it was long enough. Because if, the state laws, there were two different statutes that covered it, because if you read one, it references another, but the gun was legal. So even if a cop had showed up and checked his ID to make sure he's old enough to have that weapon, he would have continued on, because he was legally allowed to have the weapon. Now, Joseph Rosenbaum, the guy he shot, could have been arrested, because he was a convicted child molester, and not legally allowed to be within a certain distance of minors.
That's the guy that he shot.
Yeah, and
Somebody-
Kyle
I think
Rittenhouse,
somebody told me. I think it was in my other buddy told me that some family members gave him that gun when he crossed the state line. He didn't actually cross.
so Kyle Rittenhouse's, I believe his mom lives outside of the state, and that's who he stayed with most of the time, and his dad lived inside the state. So the person that, and it doesn't matter, because I can give you a gun as a gift, like people do it in the military all the time. They get the gold handled MP cross pistol, 9mm Beretta as a gift, and it's a real gun. Like a gun as a gift, you're still legally allowed to possess that.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is when it comes down to purchasing a firearm, registering a firearm, and as we found out in those statutes, whether or not it's constituted to be a rifle or a pistol, and how the length of the barrel affects that. So basically, and I could be wrong on this, but if Kyle Rittenhouse had showed up with a sawed-off shotgun, it's very possible that situation would have been illegal. But when it comes to the legality of the gun, the defense, prosecution, and the judge all determined it was a legal weapon. Him crossing state lines with it was bogus, and I can understand the question of the legality of the weapon, like why it was brought up, but I do think it was foolish for the prosecution to not measure it before they presented it. Like I think they should have at least fucking measured it.
Wow. And then that changes the narrative on the situation, and then I guess the only other issue would be what type of environment was it when we showed up? Was it people like anarchy, people jumping off the top of cars, fires being lit, or was it, from what I understand, it was a peaceful protest? So it's almost like we in here talking and somebody shows up here with a gun. We're just talking about this verdict or whatever. We talking about it in peaceful conversation. Somebody shows up with a knife or something, like, what are you doing with this? Nobody's here gonna hurt you, brother. We just here talking. Like, what is the extra defense? What is the extra threat?
So you know that the law enforcement, the local police, were not just defunded, but also pulled out of the city. Like there's staffing shortages and all
After the
kinds
situation?
before.
Or before?
Yeah, so that's one reason why he had showed up, because I listened to a guy that was like, if there were local law enforcement present and you show up like that, that's a little, that's a little more like, are you stepping on the cops' toes?
Mhm.
And then if you're working in conjunction with them, why not just wait till you're 21 and apply for the department? But because they weren't there, it's much like I forget what it was called, the zone in Portland.
Mhm.
There were no law enforcement there. And then I am sure you would agree, if that's a big phone. Is that yours?
That's my brother, yeah. Go ahead, man.
So I guess say I'm in here with these guys, and we're doing something we ain't supposed to. Like just whatever your favorite crime is. We'll just say we're in here smoking weed. And then you come in and, but like it's not your place. Like we're in my house or something. Cause it's different if we're in here doing that, you don't want us in here doing that and you can just be like, get the fuck out. Oh man, we gotta go. So we're in my house and you show up and we're smoking weed. And you don't agree with it. You don't think we should be doing it, but you're not gonna do it. Like that's not your thing. You're not gonna partake. But we're friends and you still wanna be a part of the group, so you sit down. If there's, 5 of us in a room, 4 people smoking weed and you're not, and then you leave and it's in your clothes and you stop by the gas station, nobody's going to say that guy smells like he was in a room with a bunch of people smoking weed. He's going to say he smells like he was smoking weed. Mm-hmm. If the cops bust us for smoking weed and then you're in there, like I was an MP, I showed up all the time and people were like, oh, it wasn't me, whatever. They're not going to be, oh, well, I wasn't smoking, just they were smoking. And the cops be like, okay, well then you're good. No, they're arrested. Exactly. He said it before I got to it. Guilty by association. So at the end of the day, one of my biggest issues with all of these protests that took place, okay, and I'm gonna go back even further in history, but just starting with the past year and a half, is they all started with people walking and holding signs. During that hike in Raleigh, we walked by the courthouse. I don't think it had anything to do with law enforcement killing black people. I think it had to do with immigration, something or other. I didn't get a chance to read their sign. Yeah. So we walked by the Capitol, and this one dude at the front of the line turned around and made a beeline for the back. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't. I have no idea what it was about, but he just went through the entire hike and told all of us not to say anything. I don't know, because I mean, a shit ton of veterans walking. There were like 10 American flags, 10 Vet TV flags, 10. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So whatever it was, he just didn't want to start anything, but they were all quiet, they were holding signs. But then 6 o'clock hits, and Joe Schmo gets off at the gas station. 7 o'clock hits, and the hoodlums get done with their pregame party and show up. And now we're breaking windows, throwing Molotov cocktails. Where's the line? Where is the peaceful people are finished and went home, and then you have this whole other debacle where you have 100 people show up and conduct a peaceful protest with civility, holding a premise that pretty much everybody can get on board with. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're, once again, I was an MP, somebody would say I wasn't a real cop. Most real cops were MPs first, so, whatever. But I don't think there is a justification for the number of killings by law enforcement, period. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because I don't think it matters if you're black, white, purple, yellow, green, orange. Doesn't matter. I think that number could always be lower. Yeah. However, you show up, 100 people show up to a peaceful protest, 50 of them go home, another 50 show up to be the hoodlums and set fire to the city, and these 50 decide to stay and just fuck shit up with them. So it's like, which ones are which? Yeah. When you show up at the end of the day, it's like, you could call it emotion, but there's also no, like, if the 100 people showed up for the peaceful protest and they were able to complete it and leave in one location, and then this city over here got set on fire, that'd be one thing. But also notice, if all of us showed up with signs and did a peaceful protest in front of your building, and then at 5 o'clock we were like, all right, good job, we did our job and we went home. nobody would put it on the fucking news. Because nobody gives a shit that people were successful in not setting fire to the city.
Yeah.
They want to see the ones where it's like, oh, you know, these people are angry. But the fact that, you know, oh, we only burned down 3 buildings. And then they call it mostly peaceful because they want to focus on the fact they're like, this will get the most attention. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
man,
saying?
it was a lot of groups that was joining the peaceful protest. They was like opportunists. They wasn't even down there for the protest, but they were showing up just to try to give the protest a bad name after the event had ended.
Or
And
they
then
wanted free stuff,
wanted
or they
free
wanted
stuff,
to
looting and
set
whatever.
stuff on fire.
and then when the
get away
police
with
show
it.
up, they don't know who is who and who is what, and it gives the whole thing a bad name, and you don't know who is who.
So my biggest issue with the whole everybody being against Kyle Rittenhouse for it was that he wasn't the only person there.
Yeah, he was.
He's the only person that was attacked and defended himself. There were 2 things that contributed to him ending up charged with and in court defending himself, or having to hire a lawyer to defend him, is because he was attacked and because he defended himself, and it resulted in the death of 2 people, or was it 2 people?
It was. think
I
it
know
was
he
3.
shot 3. He shot 3. One, Gage didn't die. He just
Okay.
lost his bicep. But yeah, so that's the only reason the country was so focused on him. He wasn't the only person there, because in his interview he specifically said, on the scene, our job, my job, you know. So he distinguished between himself and the group he was with, number 1. And number 2, as the owner of a small business, if you're going to be in the middle of that shit, you're probably going to do whatever you can to defend your business and your property as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the only one that was happening, but basically the whole guilty by association thing, you know. Everybody was there, everybody was involved. So if Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty of anything, as far as showing up and being there, then every single person who was present is guilty of the exact same thing.
Yeah, and the attention was on him because somebody died. For him defending himself.
I don't disagree with him being charged whatsoever. That is law enforcement's job. They're a reporting agency. If I show up, everybody's smoking weed, we arrest them all, write the report, submit it, everybody gets charged, and it goes to court. And it's like, oh, this guy over here, you know, we piss tested everybody the next day, and his came back clean. All right, well, drop the charges in.
Let him go.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, we take him to court. That is the justice system doing what it's supposed to do. We charge them now, we sort it out later.
So I mean, I can understand that part of it because if there's more than one person involved, but he got charged because somebody actually died at his hand. But where's the justice in the deaths of those people? I mean, there's 100 ways you can defend yourself other than pulling the trigger. There's more than one way you can, that scenario could have played out. And what attracted him to that particular protest for him to even be involved, because he stays home, then something else could potentially happen, but it's not on him. Or maybe something else happens and there's nobody dead, or there might be some fights or whatever. I could have been in the same situation, going to somewhere to quote unquote help out or to see what's going on, and then I get in a situation and somebody dies in my hand. First thing they gonna ask me, well, why you just stay home?
I don't think you and I would have that problem, because if somebody asks us to go defend their business, like, I'm 6'3", 280
Yeah, what
pounds.
I'm saying,
I always thought about that, and I was like, why don't I ever deal with any problems? Because I'm not a guy that gets in fights. Nobody wants to fight this fucking guy. You're a pretty big guy, somebody gonna be like, I'm not gonna fuck with him. Look, if you put us in t-shirts that say security out front of a building, they're gonna be like, I'm not gonna go in there.
I get asked to be security, but I'm minding my own business. I just want to be in peace, you know. But
It's when I go in a place and the security guard is smaller than me, I have questions. And that's actually not too hard to do. But
yeah. And then if they pulled the law enforcement out and they defunded the law enforcement, there's no law enforcement there, then still pose a question. You said he kept referring to it was our job. Who made this your job? Who made it?
So
Who gave
I
you
believe he
responsibility?
worked at the place that he was
So the
protecting.
17-year-old?
Yeah,
He worked there.
yeah. And they were like, hey.
That's
you
something
know,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know that he was actually.
So the
Working
owner
and doing
of
something.
the car dealership asked him, which, I mean, if I owned a car dealership, I might want somebody to protect it because all the cars are in the parking lot. Like, the only thing you can't really protect against as a car dealership owner is probably hail, you know,
Yeah.
unless you have all your cars inside, but.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of different variations of opinions, and if that was the case, like I said, I don't know the actual
But when it-
breakdown of everything.
So when it comes to you talking about him shooting them and where's the justification, there's two different things there. Because number one, it's the people that he shot. They were all convicts in one way or another. And Joseph Rosenbaum was actually a convicted sex
So
offender.
the people that he shot just happened to be convicts.
I don't think so. I think you are who you hang out with. So the fact that there's people setting fire to a city, criminals attract criminals. It's not that hard to walk in it like it's going back to smoking weed in a room. You know, if you
then
hang out with a
they're still taking justice in your own hands if they were in
no, because he didn't shoot them because of that. That's why I said it's two different
Yeah.
things. So it's two different things in a sense that I have trouble having sympathy for them, primarily because, you know, we talked about my two friends have kids.
Mhm.
They both have daughters, and I have a little sister that's 10 years younger. So if they had been victims of someone like those people, I mean, I think there was recently a dude whose daughter's boyfriend was mistreating her, like beating her and stuff like that. And I think I don't know what it was, but something serious happened, like, you know, rape or physical abuse. And he just got, I want to say he got convicted and thrown in jail for killing the guy. So that is a prime example there, and nobody is upset about that. And there's been other instances. In fact, back in the 80s, a guy was arrested because this dude had raped that dude's daughter, and they were bringing him through the airport because the cops had found him and threw cuffs on him. And the father was at the phone booth with a hat and sunglasses on the phone, telling his friend, here he comes, I'm going to shoot him. Hangs up the phone, turns with a revolver, and shoots the dude straight through the head. And then the cops, like, obviously that dude's dead. So then they go after the father and arrest him. So in the instance of, like, who those guys were and their character, I couldn't care less what happened to them or how life turned out. Like, once again, you are who you hang out with. More than likely, him being associated, Joseph Rosenbaum being associated with the two other guys, I mean, you're going to become, if I hang out with you, I'm probably going to get richer and become better and, you know, be a better podcaster. Yeah. You know, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
If you want to be a millionaire, hang around millionaires. So, but when it comes to the self-defense aspect, I think what a lot of civilians don't realize is, like, you know, when we deploy or in a law enforcement standpoint, you have an EOF, escalation of force, you have rules for the use of force, you have rules of engagement, and those are things that you have to follow, and sometimes they can be a lot more difficult than people realize. So from a deployment standpoint...
Yeah, that's definitely true. When the lines are blurred and it's a little bit difficult, other people may appear or seem because you know the rules and you know behind the scenes of what goes on and how the decision making is done.
So I think if he had shot Joseph Rosenbaum and killed him, and they found 7 rounds in him, then Kyle Rittenhouse fucked up. I think if Gage, a prime example is the Gage Grosskreutz guy that had his bicep shot off, because he shot to stop the threat. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And I don't know, because I don't actively train, that put in a similar situation, I would be able to do the exact same thing right now. So that tells me that, number one, he was training. Number two, he was, I guess you could say, very aware. Because I was in with the guy, so we chased a child molester in the Army into the woods. There were 2 MPs and 2 DACP. He ended up in a clearing, and all 4 of the officers shot at him. And he died. It turned out that he shot himself in the head. It also turned out that none of them hit him. So I think we need to go back to the range or something. But it also turned out that 1 out of 4 of those officers, 3 of them pulled the trigger once, 1 of them pulled the trigger 7 times. He got relieved of duty, taken off the road, and an investigation got conducted. Because under no circumstances, especially there is threat, okay? So the reason that they shot at him is because they heard a gunshot. And they couldn't tell if he was shooting at them or at the 2 on the other side or whatever. So there is the threat, gunshot. The issue is there was 1 gunshot and you pulled the trigger 7 fucking times. It should have been gunshot and then you pull the trigger once and then you're like, oh, the shooting stopped. Because that's the point.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse getting hit in the head with a skateboard, he pulls the trigger, threat stops, that's it. The fact that it resulted in death is primarily just because anybody that has ever shot a weapon knows you have to aim center mass. It's hard enough to hit a moving target. It's even more difficult to hit a smaller target while it's moving. So this whole bullshit of shooting somebody in an arm, that's just not a thing. It's not a thing.
Okay.
But if he had shot, I mean, Gage is a prime example of that. He shot 3 people, 2 of them died. That's just because of where they got hit and the fact that he shot to stop the threat.
Yeah.
But once again, if I find 9 rounds in this body, if they had convicted him on use of excessive force, that is a fucking thing. And I would support that because, you know, if you're chasing after me, you know, you got a gun, you shoot at me, I got a gun, I shoot at you, and then you stop shooting at me, and you're like, damn it, you hit my arm. I stopped the threat though.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
I mean, that's very interesting take on that. But let me ask you something else. So we have the new variant of the COVID coming out, supposedly from Africa. They said they got 1 case.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my
States.
copy.
Can't wait to get your
I
copy.
said get my copy.
Get your copy. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, we still recovering from.
I don't care. There's a new variant of the common cold every fucking year. Like, eat your onions and your garlic. We already talked about how I get my share of that, and take your damn vitamins and go for a fucking run.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like I say, there's always going to be a new variant or something coming out, right? Not to have everybody panic about.
I mean, you were in the Army, so you probably, or Marines, so your knees and your feet and your back and your elbows and your head, everything is fucked up, right?
It's getting that way.
You're just like, it's like AIDS combined with service, and then I was in for 10 years, so, you know,
Man.
all that gear, so it's like, if you don't want to kind of go downhill, then you take care of yourself. You drink water, you exercise, you know, hindsight 2020, maybe you don't enlist. Then,
Hindsight 2020. I remember when I had 2020 vision. It's been so long ago.
Yeah.
I really like.
I got, but anyway, so if you don't want the thing, you don't do the thing. So, I don't think you can avoid illness and stuff. But I think you can definitely help yourself. Like, you know, if it's something, whether it's your variant or just COVID in general, if you want to avoid it, maybe stop going to places where there's 50,000 people breathing all over each other. You know, I hang out. One of the things I think I do successfully is I spend time around people I know. So I have had COVID. I think at this point I may have had it twice. Because I got it in 2019 before we knew it was the thing. It was the tail end of the year, and the guy I was working with at the time was Chinese and had just spent a month in Wuhan, because that's where his suppliers were.
Oh, wow.
So he owns 2 companies over there. So he gets back after a 30-day stint in China, and he gets sick, starts drinking his tea, and then I got sick. Like I haven't been that sick for years, and I just started. I
How did
mean,
you
nobody
feel?
knew what it was. It just
But the 2 times you had it,
felt like all of a sudden,
was it the same feeling both times, or did
Well,
it?
the second time it wasn't as bad, but I got sick. I mean, part of it is me having been in the Army, like, oh, I'm tough, I can handle it. The other part is, I get a job to do, and I can't just take days off because I don't feel good.
Yeah, that's
So I do what I can. You know, there were times. The second time I took half a day because I was like, I need to go home. And what I do when I get the common cold is I'll get in the shower and crank the heat up, and I'll just take a really long hot shower. I'll drink a ton of hot liquids, and then I'll put on excessive clothes. Like I will force my body to sweat.
yeah.
Oh, it works so great.
So Ryan Smith's a remedy to getting rid of coronavirus, hot showers and a lot of
I mean, I've had the common cold, and I'm pretty sure I've had COVID. The common cold I can normally get rid of in a day.
Wow,
And
okay.
I don't. So the second time I had it,
I can attest to that.
We're having a cold in one day.
Yeah, I can get rid of the cold pretty fast.
you just sneeze it out. Like you're good. You're good. Just
You gotta force it out of your system.
yeah. But I mean, if you put on enough clothes and turn your temperature up, turn the fan off, and force your body to sweat, I am extremely uncomfortable when I sweat.
I mean, a
But
lot
when
of
I'm
people are.
sick and I force my body to do that, you break the fever,
I
and it's
remember-
just like, it's all
I
downhill.
remember being so sick one time, I had a fever. My eyeballs were sweating, bro. I didn't even know an eyeball could sweat. Like my eye, if I was crying, no, my eyeball was sweating. I'm burning up. You know what I mean? But I know a ton of people. So what do you think about this? I know a ton of people that has had the COVID, and they actually stayed home and do the Ryan remedy and sweat it out, and they fine.
Yeah.
But the ones that go to the hospital and get hooked up to those ventilators, they not coming out of that.
Well, number one, it's my understanding from a medical perspective that if you get hooked up to a ventilator, you know, there is an extremely big chance that you're not going to make it. So I don't want to say that in a sense like, oh, if you get hooked up to a ventilator, you're going to die.
Yeah.
I'm saying like the reason that someone is getting hooked up to a ventilator is because if they didn't, like that does the breathing for them. So if they didn't, they would probably die because they're not getting enough oxygen. But the fact that they get hooked up means that, you know, that's not a very high percentage of, you know, we're going to make it through this.
Yeah.
But number two, it's just like I talked about, you being in the Marines, your back, your knees, whatever. So if someone smoked cigarettes for 40 years of their life and then they get COVID, you know, people like me and you might have a leg up on them. like if someone is excessively obese and then they get COVID, like we have a little bit of an advantage there. It's almost like going into a race and that guy has been running his whole life in practice and me and you just started yesterday, like
Yeah.
he's probably going to kick our ass.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's also, I believe, you know, it's a mental thing as well. I mean, if you think
I
that
agree with that.
COVID equals death, or if you think that you're going to die, then chances are you're going to have you're probably going to get there. But having a strong mind and strong will and not being able to like I say, can't take a day off, so I got to go to work sick or not. You know what I mean? Those
I don't
people
know that that's a good.
Well, it might not be
trait to
good for
have.
everybody because you don't want to come in and infect nobody else. But
Yeah,
you just by
and
yourself.
I have a policy like that. I'm like, hey, if you're sick, let me know. You stay home. but on the flip side of that is like, I'm also, look man, we don't check fucking temperatures and shit. Like, it's over and whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. So if my guys are coming into work sick, then I don't know it. But I have an older guy he's a pretty hard charger. Doesn't really let stuff bother him. I have another dude that's roughly about my age. He's an Army veteran, so he's very similar to how I am. But I put the policy in place primarily because, especially with like the flu,
Yeah.
I don't want somebody getting the flu and coming in and giving it to all of us. Then the operation shuts down.
Yeah.
Like if there's nobody there. But I mean, if they want to tough it out, so I would never recommend people do that. I think you should take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're in a position. I mean, there's people who maybe they don't make enough money, and a day off work is going to cause some fucking problems.
Yeah,
So
but then you can't
tough it out.
Still got to be, still got to look out for other folks as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you worry about your one day paycheck and everybody else is, is sick and all that kind of stuff. But, well, to each his own.
I got
I have
the
not
whole.
really been a fan of wearing a mask, but
Yeah.
I don't spread my germs around everybody either, so I don't.
I just, so I'm obviously extremely anti-mask, because I think it's fucking stupid, but I'm also a person who likes freedom over, I guess you could say making a point. So I am not going to cuss out the minimum wage cashier, who is the only person that showed up to work today, and corporate said, make sure everyone wears a mask. And they're like, sir, you have to put on a mask. Like, I'm not going to be an asshole to another human being to make a, like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So if I go in a place and they ask me to put it on, I will, but I don't read signs. I mean, I was in the Army, so I'm pretty sure I can't read anyways. But I don't read signs. I see signs all the time, and the word mask is really big, and then the rest of it says something. But by that time, like, I'm already through the door. So if I get asked to put it on, I will put it on.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will tell you, I've been in places that I know for a fact require it, and I have, because right now it is a locality thing. So the cities could opt out, at least in Wake County. So roughly about 50% of them opted out, and the other 50% are like, nope, we leave the mandate in place. And I go in everywhere, and I haven't been asked to put one on. So,
Well, me personally, I mean, I take my mask with me, but I mean, sometimes you want somebody to do their job. If they don't do their job and they didn't put it on, I'm gonna keep rolling. But they say put it on, I ain't gonna argue with them. I'm gonna put it on. But if they don't actually choose,
yeah, same thing. I'll put it on because I want my Copenhagen, I want my beer, and most of the time that's inside of a store I'm going in.
It's hard to spit tobacco if you got a mask on. Huh?
So it's like, well, yeah, but that's a whole. I haven't actually tried that yet.
I thought about it. Walk into a store with a dip in
This
and a
is-
bottle, and when they go, "Sir, you got to wear a mask," and I'm like, "How? Like, what am I? When I gotta spit, like, what do I gotta do? I gotta take the mask down and then like an airplane and then put it back up."
And then I got beards too, man.
Yeah,
wear a mask.
the part that irritates me though is when you go into a restaurant and you got to put the mask on, you sit at the table with the mask on.
Man, if
What's the
you
difference you sitting
Yo,
down with a mask
yo,
on when
if
you
you-
eating? If you gotta
if
eat
you-
your food, you can't eat food with a mask on, so I gotta take it off eventually to eat.
well, there's a high school band or something like that doing like they do tubas and they have the whole orchestra and they do the mask with the hole cut for the mouth. I think that is the dumbest shit I've seen. But if
It's
you
like wearing
if
a
you
condom with a
have
hole in it, right?
yeah.
If you wear a mask with a hole in the middle of it, that's like, it's
Like
like
that.
I want to practice safe sex, but I want to put a condom on with a hole in it. Hopefully I don't get.
I had to think about that for a second, but
Come
yeah,
on now.
I did. Like, it just.
I mean, really, like, and if you wear it incorrectly, you wear it under the nose.
It's a guy at my job. He got his like that. He got it cut in the middle.
You might as well take it off. You might as well take it off.
What are you doing, man?
You
What
might
are
as
you
well take it off. At this point, take it off.
There's no mask.
If you-
it ain't.
If you haven't seen comedians with this stuff, I want to say J.P. Sears is one of them. There's a whole bunch of other ones though. But recently, I can't remember who it was. I was listening to it, and they were talking about how when you sit down, COVID can't see you. Can't see you. If you're sitting down, you go in a restaurant. That's why you take it off at the table, because COVID can't get you there.
Now if you sit down.
Yeah.
COVID can't get you while you're eating your food.
But when you stand up, like if you got to go to the bathroom, you got to put it on.
Yeah. And that's the silly part about wearing a mask and I'm really irritated is because of stuff like that. You come in, walk into the restaurant, you gotta have it on. But when you sit down and ready to eat, take it off. Go to the bathroom, you got to have it on. But when you go outside the doors of the restaurant, back in the world, now you can take. So it's like silly, stupid, like, you know what I mean? If it's a freaking airborne freaking disease that's eating folks' lungs up, then you want to have it on all time, you know, and just barely like,
You know,
they
you
should make you wear it while you're eating and have to make you put it down for every bite of your food and chew with the mask on underneath the mask while you chewing.
If it was that deep.
If it was that dog, you know what I mean? But the fact that you can just casually take it off when you want to, the people serving you gotta keep.
in the Marines, did you have to go through the gas chamber?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
my question is, because that mask, now this is a real mask.
Yes.
You're talking about a gas mask with a filter canister on
Yes.
it, and if you open the canister, it has like a shelf life of maybe a year, and then you got to replace it. So if you're in the Army and you have a gas mask and your canister has been attached for longer than a year, you need to go to your NBC. NCO and get a new
It
one.
might have
But,
thrown in.
but the question, well, now, but the question I have is, because there is a contraption, and so there's a straw, and you can take the outside of it, and you, on your 1-quart canteen, it had a little tab on top. You pull that off, and you attach the hose so that you can drink water while you have your mask on. You can't eat. And I mean, you know, going through the gas chamber, you break the seal on that mask,
That's it.
and that CS gas
That's
is
it.
coming in there.
Imagine having a mask on with the gas trapped inside the mask, and you can't even breathe. And you got the mask on.
Because you break the seal and then
Yeah.
you put it back
Yeah.
and they have you seal it,
Yeah.
and then at the end they have you take it off. And for us, they were like recite the Soldier's Creed, and you start, and that's it. That's why when there was so much fuss over people getting tear gas, like, oh my gosh, they tear gas them, and I was like, they'll get over it.
Yeah.
Because I did. Because I've been tear gassed.
Yeah.
And I got over it. And you come out. I saw the video of me coming out the gas chamber. And you just got your arms out like this. And your whole face, like you got liquid coming out of holes you didn't know you fucking had. And there's
man.
people with just snot and
That's
everything
that's
like all the way down here.
That's an experience all on its own, right?
But then
there,
after
boy.
you get some air and you get
It's
okay,
over.
so that was obviously basic training, and we were all scared. I was 18 years old or whatever. Then at Fort Hood, we were high speed. We were like super extra high speed, like super duper high speed. So they were like, "We're going to the gas chamber." That was way different too, because this gas chamber, like in basic, they take you in and it's like maybe only 10 people fit in there, and there's a drill sergeant, and then there's the little plate or whatever where they have the CS gas tablets on it. This one was huge. It was so big that in order to conduct the exercise, we had to use a little extra, and you could actually come in and stand at the one end and just kind of get a tickle in your throat, and it wouldn't do anything because the building was so big. But we, after we were done doing the training, we had a competition to see who could take their mask off
Yeah.
and stand in there the longest.
I mean, I still remember like face stinging, face burning
Oh man.
from all of that, man. When you just said that, I just literally had a flashback.
Yeah, and now you're having
Yeah.
trouble breathing. Like, forget Corona. You're trying
Yeah,
to.
you can't breathe, you can't think. It's
Yeah.
like all your motor skills like go out the window when you can't breathe. It's hard for you to think
Yeah,
and
and that stuff. CS gas, tear gas is no joke.
Yeah.
But just get away from it. Go over there, shake your clothes out, and you probably be all right. You know.
So anything you got new coming up? What you got coming up for 2022, brother? I mean, what's you live and having some flashbacks about You know, some military stuff. Are we good?
No, both of the batteries is going there.
We're getting
We
pointed
got
at.
another battery here. We got another battery here.
Small little, hold on.
Yeah, but
I heard it
So,
when it
so
went
one
off.
thing we're doing is on the Business and Brew show. I started doing 10-minute segments called the Morning Brews. It's audio recorded only, and I call it kicking the ass to get your day started. I'm going to change the schedule a little bit. But basically, it comes out Monday through Friday. I think right now they're publishing at 6 a.m. And it's leadership, motivation. Like, I'll have a thought and I'll write it down, or I'll use an article or a book as a prompt, and then give my thoughts on that. It's kind of nice because from a content creator standpoint, I record for 2 hours at a time, like 10-minute segments, and that's 2 weeks of content. 'Cause it's
yeah, you
just
told
10
me you
minutes.
do it for, you know, that's the one that comes out once a month.
No, that's the one that comes out. Morning Brews is every day, Monday through Friday.
Oh, okay.
So that's new. And then Business and Brews
Business
is
and Brews.
once a week.
Once a week. So you do
That's like an hour long talking to business owners. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the episode posting is Peter Rashawn of Rashawn Planning. So he is a Dave Ramsey Smart Duster Pro. Pretty cool. And he also does, he was actually a radio personality for a while and has that whole setup. But then, so Veteran Talk Show, I'm doing the exact same thing, but one thing we're doing as a whole on the Veteran Talk Show and Business and Brews is I'm offering people who want to make content and maybe don't have the knowledge, skill, and ability to like get their podcast out there. They make the content, I do all the editing, post-production, and distribution. And that's because it's going on our networks, I do it for them for free. So Ricky Johnson is a guy that we met at the IW Hype. And he is a motivational speaker for addiction recovery and kind of taking responsibility. So on the Veteran Talk Show, it's going to be the same thing that I do on Business and Brews with Morning Brews, but it's called Redemption with Ricky Johnson. So it's pretty exciting because we give him exposure to our audience, just like I would with small businesses. So it's something kind of new we're rolling out, but then I get the content. So at the end of the day, if I look at the analytics and they're gaining a lot of traction, I'll break them off and create their own channels. But just starting out, we're doing everything under whichever one they want to do. Veteran Talk Show is obviously, he's a Marine veteran, so that was the best fit for him. And then I'm talking to a couple other people for Business and Brews. So I'm pretty excited about it because they say a rising tide.
You look real excited, man.
Yeah.
You look like the most excited person I've ever seen in my life. Y'all tell how excited this guy is? This guy is super duper excited.
Well, they say
about life.
a rising tide lifts all boats, and so now if there's a business owner out there, like I talked to one yesterday that he doesn't have time, he doesn't have the knowledge and the skills associated with the tech aspect to get it done. So I said, well, you get the 10-minute segments created. All you gotta do is take your phone out, hit record, and then send me the file.
It might not be that simple. Take that phone out and record. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You might have a big old brick phone like this, or just. And
I mean-
I don't consider myself to be too tech savvy.
Yeah.
That's why I have these guys here.
Is that why you have that big phone?
That's why I have these guys walking around and doing it. And I have you here to tell me about how to start this podcast and how to get on Anchor and all this kind of stuff.
But like Ricky, he's not a tech guy, and so I hold a call with him if they need help, and he was doing all the recording, and it worked out. Now he emails me 1 or 2 episodes almost every day, so it's going pretty good. It's working out.
So you're very excited.
Yeah, I get to give other people the opportunity to kind of have their own podcast, and I don't have to create all the content. Plus, I'm not sure if you know how podcasts work, but when you
I have no
refresh.
idea how.
When you refresh so I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
When I refresh my library, the ones that were updated most recent are at the top.
Yeah.
Well, as I take on other people wanting to do a podcast on my channel, it's their content, it's their show, whatever they want to call it, but it's under my channel. it bumps it back to the top. So if I got 10 business owners creating 10-minute segments, my podcast goes back to the top 10 times a day.
That's pretty good.
And when Ricky Johnson, Redemption with Ricky Johnson is getting 1,000 downloads every day, then I say, hey man, we need to make your own separate one. We'll just break them all. And it's easy because I already did it twice, so we'll just do it a third time.
Well, that's the kind of reason why, like I say, I'm partnering with people and getting into different spaces of areas when I'm not as familiar, because I know that other people have the ability to excel and put me in position to be better than what I am now. So I appreciate guys like you that give me opportunity to talk and be on their stuff, because like I say, you were the first person that allowed me to come on the podcast, and I very I humbly appreciate that, you know what I mean? And like I say, you are welcome to come and sit down anytime, and I'll make sure I have the right flavor of business and the right brand of brew for you to be able to sip on. And like I said, 2 drink maximum, because I know you got a long way to go.
Yeah, the first time you said minimum,
Well, yeah,
so I got
minimum.
concerned.
When you go to the club, you say 2 drink minimum, you come to the club.
So I come in the club and I got a 2 drink minimum.
But here to put this time on the timestamp, this is one of the shirts that we had made for Inside the Den, and I appreciate you coming out and sharing some time with us. So you get your very own Inside the Den shirt now.
Yeah, man.
I don't know how you feel about having another man face on your shirt, on your chest, but you got a line, half of a line, and all that kind of stuff. So being Inside the Den has really taught me just about partnerships and friendships. And somebody asked me the other day, how do I decide who to come on the show? How do I decide what topics to talk about and who to come on the show? And what I tell people is, the people that come on the show are people that I deal with. These are the people I feel like if I had a need, they would help me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a lot of friends. That's one thing I miss about, being in the military is the camaraderie you have with those guys that you spend time with. So, and then, playing football all those years, you miss the camaraderie. So, don't have a lot of, like, active friends in my life, you know what I mean? But I do have associates, people I deal with. And these are the people, you all is watching right now, these are the people who I have conversations with, about random topics, and we have a opportunity to talk about these things. But I feel like the guys that come on this show, the people I deal with, that if I had a need, so for example, if I put a GoFundMe account, I know they will be able to donate to that GoFundMe. You can't really say that about everybody, because there's some people that I deal with them, but I probably wouldn't. GoFundMe.
I don't always know everything about everyone, but at the end of the day, as much as I am able, when a veteran needs help, so I actually, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but if you reached out, or anyone we know reached out and was a veteran in need, doesn't matter if it's a ride or money or food or a place to stay, at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure they get taken care of. And if, say it's an amount of money that I don't have, we have a whole team of us that can get together. And that's part of the point of Irreverent Warriors is bringing everybody together. But me as an individual, I'm going to try to, if you're like, hey man, I need $5 for gas, and I'll just give you $5.
Well, with today's gas prices, $5 will do nothing for your gas tank. We were talking about earlier, me and Antonio were talking about putting up gas just to make the light go off. But once you got to a stoplight, it's gonna be back on again. So that $5 ain't gonna go nowhere for your gas.
Unless you drive. I've been working on my car my Cobra.
Yeah.
And so one thing was, it's been sitting so long, and we had trouble getting it started, and I'm like, I'm getting this thing back up to speed. So I said, instead of trying to get it to the gas station, I just take 5-gallon can. I did that twice. So it has to be premium only. It says on the dash, premium only. And then, you know, you might get 8 miles to the gallon because they got a turbo in there.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
I spent $38 in gas in the
I
tank.
know the feeling.
The tank wasn't full.
I freaking ran out of gas coming through Fayetteville a few months
You can't
ago.
do that, man.
And I went to
They
the
don't call
gas
it
station.
Vietnam for no reason.
Whatever
man.
they
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Anyway, I went to the gas station and got a jug of gas can just to make the light go off. But you know that premium gas ain't no joke.
That's why I got that Corolla.
Yeah,
That's why I got that
That's
Corolla.
That's what I drive.
That's my daily, because my commute to work to the warehouse I got in Fuquay is about 32 minutes. If I was driving a 4.6 liter with that turbo, 32 minutes, like I would go bankrupt, man. But my Corolla right now, you got it on mine. You got that little MPG or whatever, and I'm getting like 30.4 miles to the gallon. And I'm like, this is why. I mean, I own the Cobra because it was a dumbass decision I made when I was 23, and now that I'm older, I'm not going to sell it or wreck it. Hopefully, I won't wreck it. But I don't want to get rid of it because it's a very rare car, and I like it, and it goes super fucking fast. But I keep the Corolla because, I mean, shit, they can drive forever. I think last time I looked at my budget, I was spending roughly, which is still high, but on a daily commute to the warehouse, monthly, I think I spent around $100 in gas, which is pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
You know the
Considering if I was driving that damn Cobra, it'd be like $100 a fucking
the
day.
truth of the matter is, man,
Oh,
they can
shit.
raise gas prices to $10 a gallon. What's gonna happen? Nothing. You gotta go somewhere. You
People
gotta
gonna
get
pay
gas.
it.
I don't give a
Look, I
damn
will
about
tell you what though.
how much it
'cause I
costs.
got-
I'm trying to go somewhere. I need to get gas. I'm paying it.
Look, I got to Germany. I flew into Frankfurt. Still young, already deployed, but still young. So my dumbass didn't read the second page of the orders. So I didn't know I was supposed to report to the hotel where they were going to scoop me up and take me. So I was like, all right, I'm going to Baumholder. So I go downstairs in Frankfurt. If you go to the bottom floor, the train runs through the airport. So I told the guy, I walk up to him, and I'm like, I need help. And lucky me, he was a French guy that also spoke English and German. And I was like, cool, I will talk to you since you understand me and I don't speak a lick of anything yet. I need a ticket to Baumholder. And he explained, well, technically you can't do that because the train doesn't run through there. But you get a ticket to either Oberstein, you get the bus from there. And I figured out in a foreign country, not speaking any of the language or anything, because their public transportation system is phenomenal. It's like color coded and they break it down and it's in English and German. And so I got from Frankfurt to Baumholder on my own, not speaking the language. So if gas prices increase significantly, I would be able to use, personally, I would be able to use public transportation to get around. And I would cuss about it, and I would go very, very few places. I would go to work and home because, I mean, then again, the flip side of that is if you're using public transportation, you know, a 32-minute drive turns into like a 2-hour commute because you got to catch this bus and that bus.
Yeah.
I know me personally, if I had to, I would be able to use that, but also, I mean, $10 a gallon. I'll probably get a good cry out first.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta get it done.
Fred
You gotta-
Flintstone, that bitch. Somebody cut a hole in the bottom of
Oh,
my
I
car.
probably
Like,
be
Jesus
riding your
Christ.
motorcycle everywhere, huh?
I mean, that thing's not much better than the Corolla. I gotta fix that damn thing too.
So 2 questions, brother, before we say goodbye for the day. Everybody knows that I do a couple of different things, and one of my products is beard products.
Okay.
What the heck do you use for your beard, man? I mean, I need to get on your program.
Every morning.
What products do you use? What's your beard routine?
It's not really. I mean, so I have wash and conditioner I use. So that's usually about twice a week. Because I don't want to wash it every day because it'll fuck it up. But you can't go too long without washing it or it gets itchy and you will get dandruff on your fucking face. It's super screwed up. I mean, the same thing happens if, you rake your face too much like we did in the Army. You shave too much, your skin gets screwed up. But so I have wash and conditioner. I have beard oil. I have several different ones. I get like a lot of beard products and stuff for free.
People want to endorse.
Bearded veteran.
Not really, but
That was you, right? Bearded veteran, right?
yeah. So one of them was because we interviewed a NC Hemp Shop. They're a CBD store up in Raleigh on the Business and Brew Show, and I said, do you have any CBD beard oil? And they didn't. So when we came back to do the show, she gave me one, and I like that one. It smells really good and it works really well. And then the other one was, I actually just had him on recently, Sean Bass of Cardinal Beard Company, and so that's all he does, because his situation was basically he was trying to find stuff that worked and all of it sucked. So he literally makes his own. Like he handcrafts it. So it's pretty crazy, but he gave me one of his as well. And I really liked his. I like the scent that I got from his. But yeah, I have beard balm that I actually got with the wash and conditioner. And I mean, I'm not sure I understand it all, but at the end of the day, I tell everyone, shave your face, clean shaven, twice a day, every day for 10 years, and then stop. Because that's how I did it. Because in the Army, you got to be clean shaven. The Army doesn't tell you have to shave. The Army says you have to be clean shaven.
Yeah.
So, I'm shaving at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to PT. By 12 o'clock, I got a 5 o'clock shadow. I got a shaving here. And then once I started growing it out, I'll take it every once in a blue moon. I just grab the whole thing like this, and I cut about an inch or two off the bottom. And then in a month, it's way longer than it was before. I mean, when it comes time for the wedding, there's going to be a photographer there. I'm going to have to fix everything. I'm not going to get away with this for the wedding, but she will not ever have me go clean shaven.
Well, leads me to my second question. Where does the date go?
May of 2020. Yeah, that's in the past.
Yeah.
So she wanted a house, a car, a baby, a puppy, and a wedding. And I said, well, you got to kind of pick here. So the puppy was kind of easy because I found a guy giving them away. He had like 4, and I was like, I want that one. So we got the puppy knocked out. The car she bought, she was just kind of running on the leftovers from her parents, which was real nice because, they got 2 or 3 vehicles and can't drive all of them at once. So,
Yeah.
but her dad is the guy that the oil needs changed, and he changed the oil. So I think that his Durango has 300 gazillion miles on it. Like that thing just lasts. I took it to Texas to get the Cobra. That thing is a champion, man. Don't break down once. But at the end of the day, she wanted reliable transportation, time to get one, so she bought it. That's her car, so I'm like, I'm cool with that. So we got the puppy in the car. Next, we got the house, the baby, and the wedding. I'm like,
House, a baby, wait. So what you gonna do first?
so I said, we got to figure this out. So right now, we're working on a house. Because at the end of the day, you know, the country song says, buy dirt. God's not making any more of it. You know, you own land, especially if you buy a house and you buy property and you pay it off, then it don't matter what the government does as far as, you know, rentals and apartments, or if you got a bank loan or something like that. If you own your home outright, at least we got a place to live. You lose our jobs, scrounge for food, struggle with paying gas for transportation, but we got a home. So we're working on that, and then next is probably the wedding.
So the wedding is last,
Second,
second to last,
yeah,
and then the baby after the wedding.
probably. But I mean, like looking at it, I think we said our budget is maybe 10 grand for the wedding. I mean, somewhere around there. Might be a little more than that, but I think I'm okay with that because in my mind I was like, man, where am I going to get $30,000 for a wedding, or $50,000 for a wedding? Like that's it.
From the parents, right? It's normal. Look, this is
I
why I
don't
love
know
this guy. Look at this guy here. This is Ryan. Look at this guy. And for you all to know me, you know what I'm saying, I kind of changed my attire a little bit because I want my man to feel comfortable. You know, come. I ain't got no freaking pimp hat on or nothing like that. I got a regular ball cap.
You got his feathers on today.
I went and put
Wear
my,
whatever you want.
I know. Listen, though,
That's-
listen. I put my jacket with the hoodie on because he had his hoodie. He probably didn't know what I was doing. But this guy here, and I don't know, you know, what people's thoughts are, you know, meeting this guy for the second time. You know, with the long beard, look like Honky Tonk Man, or look like one of the Soggy Bottom Boys or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Duck Dynasty. I get
Duck
that.
Dynasty,
Never
you know what I'm
seen it.
saying?
Never seen it.
People might think that, you know, I don't know. I don't know what they think, but this is one of my natural brothers, man. Met this guy. Y'all know the story. I told you the first time he was here. But he's actually engaged and going to be married to an African American woman. So, you know, he has his opinion about things are non-biased because he has, you know, the best of both worlds opinionated. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted his opinion about the whole Rittenbarger situation, because, you know, he gives us a good look inside his world as it relates to, you know, one side of the fence versus the other side of the fence. And because he's married to a sister, Finney married to a sister, you know, it's one of those things. So I love this guy, man. He always gives me the rawest, openest freaking answer and opinion about it. So I can guarantee to get the right answer from you every time.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, we got time. This story time. We got time for a story.
So one thing, like when I always, you know, after I have 3 beers and somebody wants to bring up politics, especially the one time we were at a friend's house and some girl that, like, it was one of those scenarios where that person knows that person, they invite him, but nobody else knows him. And she's like, I don't understand why you have to show ID to get across the border. If you go to a foreign country, they don't make you show ID. And I'm like, you have never been out of the country. And I can tell that. Because I have, and I've been to many, many different countries, and that is not how it works. So in that specific instance, I was able to keep my mouth shut, but when somebody starts talking stupid, like just way out there, I'm like, hey, let's pump the brakes and think about this for a little bit. And I have trouble, you know, controlling it, especially after 3 drinks. But with her, so you don't always necessarily think about the other side, or maybe you don't have all the facts. But so when it comes to you know, I'm a black guy getting pulled over by the cops, and the cops are racist. I'm like, all right, I was a cop, not racist. My favorite type of person to pull over was one going too fast. Because it was easy. I had a radar. I could write a real quick ticket. I had everything memorized. I could just fill in the blanks, basically. And usually, if you catch somebody speeding, you can get something else. So You know, maybe I get a little action. Maybe they got drugs in the car. Who knows? So I'm like, that just doesn't happen. But the perspective that she presented, and this was years ago she brought it up, but basically her father is retired. And, you know, you have a couple different types of people. Me personally, when I retire, I'm still going to work my fucking ass off. It's just who I am. I always have to have something to do. I guess the difference is when I retire, it's going to be more of what I want to do as opposed to what I have to do. But her dad is retired. He does little jobs here and there. But some of his favorite things are, you know, he gets to kind of turn the volume down, take it easy. We'll take Nugget up there, and that's his best friend. But sometimes he'll just get in the car or the truck or whatever, go for a drive. So, 60, I don't know how old her dad is, but 60-plus-year-old black man in a car, driving nowhere. And then, you know how old folks are. Like they don't do the speed limit. It's like 10 or 20 below, you know. Like when you're 20, you go fast and you try to kill yourself. When you're 60, it's like you gotta slow down. You need time to process it. So 60-plus-year-old black man driving slow through town. I mean, I get it. I do, especially if I put myself in the shoes of a cop and I see this guy and he's not going anywhere, and maybe I've seen him twice, maybe he went to the store and then he drove around the block. Like you're talking about this guy, he's just out, he's trying to blow time. Maybe, so I'm not 100%, but I don't think her mom drives. So he takes her to and from work, which is also kind of nice because it gives him a little extra something to do when Nugget's not around. But I get it. I didn't think about that. And if you think about it, it's like, you know, you see an old black guy driving under the speed limit, and you see him pass by you more than once. Maybe you pull him over because you think he's lost, or whatever the case may be. But that interaction with law enforcement just like that goes from 0 to 100 real quick. And I'm not talking about escalating like violence or anything like that. I'm talking about like you and I have both had blue lights behind us and your heart is in your stomach. And most recently, I actually got pulled over recently and I didn't know why. So I'm getting pulled over and I'm just like, what was I doing? What happened? So I get it. I do. That's a perspective that not everybody thinks about. So it's kind of like I think it's Harold and Kumar, where the guy in the jail cell says he got arrested for being black in a no black zone or something like that.
Yeah, I heard that before.
But it's like you just don't think about that. So you know, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to spend time. But I was very adamant, like, generally speaking, cops don't pull people over because of their skin color. And most of the people I pulled over, you didn't fucking tell who they were because you've been on a military installation. All those motherfuckers got jacked up trucks with tinted windows with a 20% APR, you know, and fucking Mustangs and Dodge Chargers. Like, you don't know who's fucking driving it because you can't see them. But there is that flip side of it. You just don't think about it. It's like, you know, and now, you know, God forbid her father did get stopped. What's going to happen? You know, you don't have to be a racist police officer for shit to hit the fan. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is the perspective that my better half brings to the table. I think it's interesting. I think it's definitely changed some of my views and opinions significantly. But at the end of the day, I mean, like I just said, you're a veteran. I personally don't give a flying fuck about skin color. Yeah. I mean, if I was given a choice to help somebody or not help somebody, I'm gonna determine who was in the service. I'm a little biased in that aspect, so
Veterans or non-veterans?
I mean that's just the way it is.
I need help, brother. Help me, please. Did you serve in the military? No. All right, I'm sorry.
On to the next one. Fuck 'em.
That's crazy.
I mean, but if there was two, it's like, if there's you and another guy, it's like, well, I gotta help this guy. Because especially, like,
Random brothers.
you know,
Random
maybe
brothers.
your leg is broken, I gotta pick somebody up. I know if your leg wasn't broken, you would pick me up if mine was. I don't know about that fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? The civilian over here, maybe he just wants to take it. Maybe after I pick him up, he's gonna pull a gun out, you know. But with you, your leg is broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she has provided perspective and insight where, you know, I didn't always think about it, but she also puts up with my bullshit. So that's why, you know, we get along.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. But you do bring you bring a very interesting twist to, you know, to things. That's why, like I said, I like to have diversity, you know what I mean, about certain situations. So, yeah, if y'all enjoyed the show, you know, tune in next week, same time, 4 o'clock. We're gonna keep this thing rolling, keep it rolling along. I want to give a special thanks to my sound crew and my production team that goes above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that everything is presented to you in a presentable fashion. I hope y'all are enjoying the feed so far. I hope y'all are enjoying the videos that these guys are putting together. The edited version is going to be available on Monday on YouTube. So we can have some time to get all the editors done and get the sound effects and all that kind of stuff done. But if you're watching live, you're able to join us on Facebook, on Inside the Den, and then Daniel Lyons and Evans. I didn't go live on Instagram today, but you know, we're trying to make sure we got everything done. But that's our show for today. You have been Inside the Den, and special thanks to my guest, Mr. Ryan Smeltz. And you know, hope you enjoy the shirt, bro. Now I told you before, you know, it's the guy that can put your face on the shirt and all that kind of stuff. So you need to get at him. You know, y'all can exchange information and help you take your show to the next level. You got anything else you want to say before we?
No, I appreciate you having me. Thanks
So
for
when I'm gonna be able to come back on the show?
whenever you want.
We gotta set a date. I gotta set the calendar for
Yeah, man.
sometime in February 2022.
I've got Business and Brews, so I normally record that the first week of each month.
I would love to be on that business and brews.
Yeah, and then I've got Veteran Talk Show right now during football season. We record every Saturday from 11 to 3.
Who you rooting for this year? Football, no?
I'm lucky I can spell football. Wrong guy.
Wrong guy.
Wrong guy.
Hey, stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Yeah. I'm a lion and ain't nothing but anything. We on fire and my brothers, they on fire too. And we'll fight for each other, that's what lions do. Progression of the team is the purpose of our devotion. You can see that we've been working and really having some motion. None of it was given, you know that we had to hustle. And that's just how it is when you coming about the struggle. They say it takes a village when you raising a child. And they all turn into your family after a while. We gotta feed into each other, show love to one another. Not a race, but I know we can all finish the mile. When we step up in the den, you letting go of your past. You the only person that can really hold yourself back. The pride and strength of a lion is truly your match. Everybody has it when you a part of the pack. Now this ain't the type of place that'll judge you for who you are. We just get you on your way to becoming a superstar. I told you once before and I can tell you again. Come and join the brotherhood if you really just trying to win. What's up? Brothers need to stick together. As a team we can make it wherever. Just tell me how you feel. Just tell me if it's real. Brothers need to stick together. As a team we can make it wherever. Just tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel. Just tell me if it's real. Tell me how you feel.
I introduce myself?